Let's go for more though. Folks at the bar, can I get everybody to take the seats that you are planning on taking? Or somebody else's, I don't care.
Does this work?
All right, officially handing the mics over to our lovely panelists who will self-sufficiently handle their own introductions. All right, take it away, guys.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. We're so happy that you're here and that you chose our session. So we're hoping to make it worth your while. I'm Deborah Mecca. I have an agency called Causeway 305, and I help Shopify marketers just like some of you, and on growth initiatives in their marketing. So I'm going to hand this over to Tim.
I've got my own mic. Tim Peckover. I do marketing at Smile. I run the marketing team there. I've been there for about 6 years, as well as doing freelance marketing and growth for a bunch of other apps. Some of you here in the ecosystem, as long as they're not competitive in the loyalty space.
Hi everyone, my name's Tina. Thank you. I've been in marketing for 7 years now. I run my own content marketing agency called Content Curve. I've been working with businesses like Gorgeous, Loop Returns, No Commerce, a lot of really awesome folks out there. And then I'm also head of marketing at Simple Bundles. Woo!
Well, yay. I recognize so many faces. Thank you guys so much for being here. This is awesome. So let's go ahead and kick things off with something light, shall we? All right. So how do you identify your ICP, or other known as your ideal customer profile?
Yeah, I can kick this one off. So at Smile, something we've done quite often is really just looking at like where, not just your ICP, but like how are you positioning yourselves in the market? There's an author named April Dunford who has a book called Obviously Awesome. It's a positioning book, but one of the exercises that she does in there is have you look at, is your app, is your product, whatever your business is, are you a small fish in a big pond? Like, is your app, is there a lot of competitors? Are you just trying to take like a slice of that total addressable market? Or are you more of a bigger fish in a small pond where you're more niche, there's not a whole lot of competitors, there's some, but there's something very niche about your app, and figuring out for your business, which one do you land in? Are you trying to just like get your slice of the pie, or are you trying to do something very different where you actually have to like explain this isn't just like why you should use my app, but this is why you need this kind of app at all, and figuring out how you're positioning yourself in the market. Like, that really comes first to me before you even figure out who your ICP is like what is our product? How are we actually positioning this in the market?
Yeah, and I just want to add on to that. It's okay to not get this right the first time. Your ICP is always going to be changing. It's always going to be adopting and growing as you add new features to your product and everything. So a story I can tell with the bundling app that I work on is, starting out, there's obviously a lot of bundling apps in the App Store, and we were, more of like that smaller fish for a bigger pond. And then growing and adding new features, the founders realized that it actually is more of a niche product, because unlike focusing on the front end, like most bundling apps do, their specialty is on the back end with connecting with warehouses and breaking bundles down and making the inventory side a lot more streamlined. And so when I stepped in and started working with those founders, the first thing we did was a whole messaging exercise, because we realized a lot of the messaging we were using before was for that small fish, big pond, and trying to grow into more of like a niche business. Your messaging needs to be updated. You need to know who you're speaking to, the products, the product features that you need to speak to, how those merchants care about hearing them, which channels they care about listening to them on, And so that whole messaging exercise really helped us kind of bridge over to that new area. And so like messaging and ICP work, it's never gonna end, you're always gonna do it. And even if you get it right now, in a year from now, it might not be right again, and that's okay. So just always be paying attention to your merchants and how they're responding, how they're signing up, how they're engaging with your products, and just be quick to iterate because it's always going to adapt.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to your initial goals. So if you are building your app to get as many users in as possible so that you can then flip it and sell it, then that might be where you want to go for the smaller fish in a big pond or a big fish in the small pond mentality. Or if you're an app, like as an example, Checkout Blocks, who knew initially that they were going for the Shopify Plus merchant base and market, and they knew exactly what they were serving right out of the gate. And so it was really easy for them to hone in on that ICP and not really have to make any of those adjustments. But like what they've said already is things can change, and I think there's a lot of data out there. I rely a lot on Mantle to give me those insights into who, not just who I want my ICP to be, but who our ICP actually is. And is that ICP giving us the LTV that we're looking for? And if so, then how do we go after getting more of them? And if not, then how can we refine our messaging and target the right kind of customers that we're looking to get? Just because you're getting the volume of customers doesn't mean that those are necessarily the right customers. And looking into the data of what's happening in something like a Mantle or just Mantle can help you refine some of those efforts with your ICP.
And I can tell a quick story too about how that changes. Like when I joined Smile, we had a lot of custom merchants that we were working with outside of Shopify. And then right around the time of the pandemic, we realized that we wanted to really like double down on Shopify and really hone in on those smaller merchants. So we really honed in on our free plan, marketing our free plan, putting a lot of content together that was marketing for those very early merchants that didn't really know, loyalty was new to them, but also just marketing in general was new to them. And so we would put a lot of effort into the down market trend. And then more recently, in the past 18 months, we've shifted back up market. We launched a new plan. We put together a lot more content that is more up market. So even for apps that are more established like Smile, it goes up and down and can shift drastically depending on what the market looks like, what your product evolution is like. So it really is something that you have to constantly revisit and figure out, are you marketing to the right kind of merchant, and are they seeing the value that you want them to see from your app?
So I was actually with Smile during that transition of going enterprise to down market. And I think it was a really smart move because at the time I remember those enterprise merchants were taking so much of the support team's time because they needed a lot of custom work. And so just, talking about Deb, like work with the merchants that are not just gonna pay you, but obviously gonna stick around long term. Sometimes that's not going to necessarily mean enterprise merchants, and that's okay. One mistake that I often see with businesses is they really want to work with Shopify Plus brands, and I get it, they're very sexy brands. Everyone wants to have them in their portfolio, but there is a lot of custom work that you need to be prepared to support those enterprise businesses because they often need customizations, they often require a lot from your support team, and you likely even need like a sales team to help onboard them properly. And so one thing to ask yourself as you're navigating your ICP is, yes, those Shopify Plus brands do look very enticing, but do I actually have the infrastructure internally right now to support that? And if I don't, then you know what, that's the North Star metric to look towards, and we'll get there, but for now, maybe there's a mid-market area that we should be focusing on that can continue to drive profitable business for us that we can also currently support with the size of our team.
Yeah, I often say the bookends are the scary ends because they're the ones that take up a lot of the resources in customer service and in development requirements. So, the middle is where you make your money, I guess, in most